When you're doing something real, building something, changing something, committing to something, you will find thoughts that keep resurfacing. The same little doubts that keep coming back, the same memories and judgments keep getting in the way of progress. And you need to do something about these thoughts, or after a while, you might start blaming yourself. You'll assume you're not able to focus because you're undisciplined, or not motivated enough, or not smart enough, or somehow not cut out for the thing you're trying to do because you can't clear these thoughts. But here's what I've learned after more than a decade of working with people on this exact issue. Most clarity problems aren't about intelligence or motivation or discipline. The problem is your brain is doing two different jobs at the same time, and you're not properly aligning those mental functions to the task in hand. You see this most in people who are very smart and mentally capable, people who think very deeply and can see multiple angles, people who are intelligent and articulate. These people don't lack ideas. If anything, they have too many ideas, but no reliable way to organize them into action. So today I want to give you a simple model I use with clients, not to fix you, but to explain what's happening mechanically when you feel unfocused and lack clarity, and how to get unstuck without forcing yourself to be somebody you're not. Whenever someone tries to make a change, they're always dealing with three things: how they think, what they do, and how they feel. These form the three aspects of who you are: your identity, the thoughts, memories, and goals you keep returning to; your expression, what you actually do in the world, how your body and behavior shows up; and your personality, how you emotionally react, especially under pressure. So we're talking about identity. Identity is determined by the position and direction of your thoughts and ideas. Imagine two axes, one vertical, one horizontal. The vertical axis determines your position. Higher up are fewer, bigger things like identity. Mindset sits somewhere in the middle, and lower down are the many smaller parts, your thoughts. So if your thoughts are out of alignment, your identity higher up will also be out of alignment. You won't have a clear sense of who you are, what your goals are, or why you keep having certain thoughts. The horizontal axis is direction, moving upwards towards larger, more complex forms, building things up, or downwards towards simpler, more basic forms, breaking things down. So the position is where we find the misalignment of your thoughts, mindset, and identity. And the direction is where we find things moving in and joining together, or moving apart and breaking down. So this is where we see two types of thinking. On the one side of the horizontal axis is the dream state, where we do what I call dream thinking. It's moving outwards and breaking things down. It's open, creative, receptive. It's where new ideas come from, but it's also where we find ourselves confused, scattered, and unfocused. On the other side is a flow state, where we do what I call flow thinking. It's moving inwards and focusing in on one thing. It's certain, productive, fixed. It's also where ideas get applied, but it's also where we can be closed-minded, short-sighted, and stubborn. Neither state is good or bad. They're tools, and clarity comes from moving between them deliberately. Imagine a soldier and a civilian both walk into the same room. Same environment, same people. The soldier will notice the exits and assess the threats or anything that seems out of place. The civilian will probably just be thinking about their lunch because they're not a soldier. Even in a safe situation, the soldier's identity changes what they focus on and what they ignore. And you can even get the civilian to change what they're focusing on simply by saying, act like a soldier. That's how flow thinking works. The identity moves down to the individual real-time thoughts. Dream thinking works by moving up from thoughts to identity. Imagine a person regularly receiving words of praise and encouragement. At first, they exist as unconnected memories, but over time, they come together to form a coherent self-image. The thoughts overlap and join and reinforce the identity. And eventually, instead of just thinking, I did this thing well, they start to think, I am someone who does things well. And you can even get someone to change their whole self-image when they believe in just one encouraging thought. Some of us prefer to think top to bottom, working from a simple high-level idea first and worrying about the details later. Some of us prefer to think bottom to top, analyzing the details and individual ideas first and only committing to high-level ideas once the details have been aligned. It's important to know that your preferred level, I call this your mental set point, is not always going to be right for the situation. You can start too high and miss the important details. You can start too low and get stuck in analysis paralysis. Sometimes you have a clear sense of identity. There's a defined story arc. You know where you came from, you know where you're going, and you know exactly what to do. Other times, your mind is a mess, half finished snippets that don't fit together. You have no idea who you're supposed to be, and every time you think you've got it, you find expectations just aren't lining up with reality. So we need to ask questions and watch what happens when we try and answer them. To do this effectively, we need to be curious, patient, and most importantly, honest. Sometimes our answers surprise us, and that can lead us to avoid answering questions honestly. But an unashamed approach to our self development is important. Exposing ourselves to difficult work and hard truths is the first step to a better life. So start with the first thing that comes to mind. What is a significant event from your life? You will have thought of something. Don't let yourself change your mind. Stay on the first thing. What is this thing that happened to you in the past that was significant? The first thing that comes to mind might not even be something you believe is important, but it's the first thing you thought of. So bring it to mind a bit more vividly. What happened? Play it over in your head a couple of times, start to finish, and answer the following questions honestly. What was negative about this event? What was positive about this event? What happened later as a result of this event? What could you have done differently? What did this event change or confirm about how you see the world? What did this event change or confirm about how you see yourself? What we're doing here is called reflective practice. We take a real life experience, look back over it with some distance, form some ideas about what the event means to us, and then take those lessons into the real world and apply them to future experiences. Sometimes we find our thoughts don't connect. When we're all over the place mentally, reflective practice helps us to see where we are struggling to grasp fragmented thought patterns. Sometimes we find our thoughts are looping around the same doubts and unhelpful talk. When we're mentally trapped, reflective practice helps us to see where we have become stuck in rigid thought patterns. If you are trying to do something in the real world, you will likely find there are important conflicts to resolve in the thoughts you keep coming back to. You can notice and capture these thoughts by engaging in reflective practice through techniques like writing, meditation, and regular dialogue with an impartial conversation partner. By shifting in a deliberate way from practice and application to reflection and abstraction, we avoid doing too much of one type of thinking. Too much dream thinking results in rumination, avoidance, impulsivity, and difficulty making commitments. You become lost in possibilities, never landing on anything concrete, and this can make you unsure of who you are meant to be. Too much flow thinking results in micromanagement, obsessiveness, perfectionism, and often leads to burnout. You become locked into a strict set of expectations, never allowing yourself to consider any other options, and you hold on to a fixed idea of who you are meant to be. Here are 3 things you can do if you find yourself lost in dream thinking. 1, give yourself a simple, specific goal to complete every day. It might be to make your bed or drink a protein shake. When you complete it, write it down somewhere and tally off how many times you have done it. 2, make a commitment to meet with someone on a regular basis, weekly or monthly. It's important that this is a person who can hold you accountable and you can meet for a workout or just a coffee. 3, create a pros and cons list. Frameworks for making business decisions also work for your personal life. You can make your thoughts less messy by first identifying your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Write it down so that you can keep track of things. Here are 3 things you can do if you find yourself locked in flow thinking. 1, let yourself take a break to do something with no lasting outcome. Make a nice meal and eat it. Go for a walk in the park. Listen to your favorite music and sing along. Something that is over as soon as it ends. 2, write your ideas down and read them back with a critical eye. Ask yourself, is this right? Give yourself distance from your own beliefs so you can judge them as if they belong to somebody else. 3, simply try another way of doing things that is outside your normal. Ask, how do other people manage to do this? And try it their way. Swap your routines around, experiment with how you approach problems, and don't turn away a solution before you've tried it. At face value, these are all deceptively simple things to do, but that's because it's not about the task exactly. It's about the type of thinking required for the task. The goal is to make sure you're not stuck at one end of the horizontal axis. This gives you the ability to navigate the patterns of your identity on your own terms. You don't need to wait for someone else to tell you who you're meant to be. When you're thinking clearly, when you can solve problems and learn quickly, when you have a strong sense of who you are through that process, you don't go through life as a victim of circumstance. You don't just have things happen to you, you make things happen.